Hello everyone. I'm coming to you today from the desert. It is my birthday and I have had the best day ever, and I say that every year. I say this was the best birthday ever, but I think this was the best birthday ever this year too. I got to spend the day in the desert, sunning my gonads and listening to music and drinking water and just being grateful for my body, the way it works, that I'm alive, and that I can do these things. It has, of course, gotten me thinking about my mother, who died before she was 50 years old. She died deeply in debt, in a very toxic relationship, and she died, obese, unhealthy, addicted to cigarettes, constantly, chronically unhappy her whole life, just highly traumatized. And it really got me thinking about legacy and how much of my life was dictated by the desire to not end up like her. And I'm sure a lot of you are going through the same thing, so I thought I'd talk about it today. And about my mother's death, it was the 12-year anniversary of it recently. My brother has a YouTube channel and he discussed it briefly on there, so I'll link his channel below if you want to hear his experience of my mother and his thoughts on this whole thing. He and I are estranged, so if you go and check out his channel and that video, don't say that I sent you, please. After my mother died, there were a couple of things that I found in her purse. One of them was a printout from an adult sex website with a profile that matched her boyfriend at the time, who was living there, with some very vile things written on it, very unfortunately, on that profile. And she had printed it out and she died with that in her purse. And another thing was a poem. It was also printed out, and it was folded many times. It was worn in places, and it looked like maybe she had looked at it over and over again for a very long time. And I think I'm going to share that poem with you right now. So it's a poem by Portia Nelson, and it's called "There's a Hole in My Sidewalk: The Romance of Self-Discovery." Part 1. I walk down the street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I fall in. I am lost. I am helpless. It isn't my fault. It takes forever to find a way out. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I pretend I don't see it. I fall in again. I can't believe I am in the same place. But it isn't my fault. It still takes me a long time to get out. Part 3. I walk down the same street. There's a deep hole in the sidewalk. I see it's there. I still fall in. It's a habit. My eyes are open. I know where I am. It is my fault. I get out immediately. Part 4. I walk down the same street. There is a deep hole in the sidewalk. I walk around it. Part 5. I walk down another street. Subconsciously and logically, I learned a lot from my mother's life. I knew that I would not be like her when I grew up. I knew this when I was very young, when I was 2, 3, 4 years old. I looked around my environment and I said, this is not for me. This will not be my life. I looked around and I saw, a single mother. I saw boyfriends coming and going. I saw that they were what I considered to be characters of ill repute. They were charming and everything when they would come around, but then we'd get kicked out of the house and the doors would be locked. And I was very young. I didn't even know what sex was, but I knew that something was going on and I didn't like it, and it was a bad influence on my mother, and that whatever they were doing, whatever my mother was giving these men to keep them around, I would never do that when I grew up. Right, so I know a lot of girls, women and girls who grew up in these environments, they respond to it differently. Um, and that creates different traumas. Of course, I have my own set of traumas, and there's no point in comparing traumas. There are definitely repercussions that come from an early belief that all men want are sex. It is sex, and that having children is the worst thing that can happen to you. However, I think I was lucky that that was the message I took away from all of this, because, that's those beliefs and things are traumas that I'm going to have to work through, but they kept me safe from that kind of exploitation in my life. My mother was not safe from that exploitation. She grew up without a father. Her parents were very neglectful. They moved her here when she was very young. She didn't have much support. She experienced rape, and she became increasingly dependent upon male approval and attention, even to the point of accusing me of her own insecurities when I was like 9 years old. I developed very late. I wasn't interested in guys for a very long time. Some may argue that I'm still generally not interested in the majority of men. But I was always a hard case. I was always suspicious of men and their intentions. But she would even accuse me of being jealous of her boyfriends. And I learned, I've talked about this in other videos, I learned don't ever argue with crazy. So my mother would come to me when I was 9 years old, and she was upset about a boyfriend who broke up with her. And it had nothing to do with it, but she'd come up to me and say, like, you were jealous, weren't you? And I would just sit there looking at her like, what? Like, it was the way things formulated in her head was like it took her a really long time in life to take responsibility, to become aware of patterns, just like the poem suggested. And it really makes me sad that she didn't make it to the final stage of that poem. But unwittingly, she left it as a roadmap for me. She died young of a heart attack. So did my grandmother, and it was assumed that this was due to lifestyle on their parts. Both of them were obese, had diabetes, and there was my mother who smoked a pack a day for 20 years, who knows. As many of you know, I suffered a heart attack myself when I was 33, and I was hiking in the mountains alone out of cell service when I first felt the pangs, and then I happened to be in the city when I actually had the heart attack, thank goodness. And the doctor said that, it is genetic, but I probably survived because I was already healthy. Like, that could have killed me if I had, been in a similar metabolic state as my mother, or if I was smoking. And I mean, how much more literal does it get that, a mother gives her heart to her daughter and all the pain that comes with it? That's the tragedy of the human experience. For the majority of us, we don't deal with our pain, and we find ways of hiding it, managing it, stuffing it into addictions and repression and dissociation and secrets and coping, and then we pass it on to our children, whether we mean to or not. So it has been my hope that I would overcome the things that my mother suffered from and died under. And I'm not fully out of the ballpark, but you guys, I am so good. Facing the reality of your life, taking responsibility for the patterns you keep repeating, for the people you have, looking at your life and realizing that every single thing in your life is the way it is because you think you deserve it, for better or for worse. That's not cool, okay? It's not cute, it's not fun, it's not popular, it's difficult, but it's something that pays off later in life, and that's how life has been for me. So let's talk about 3 areas we can address in order to survive what our mothers before us did not. The first, which of course is dear to my heart and a topic that I'm very passionate on, is reproductive responsibility. There are many millions of people and companies and billionaires in this world that benefit from telling you that sex is no big deal and that you can liberate yourself and you got to explore your femininity by, showing your body and being sexual with men. And right, so you need to think anytime you're getting these messages from society, of course they're going to put it as an empowerment thing, or something that's good for you. They're not going to come out and flat out say, you know what, we're trying to make money off this because we know you're insecure, so just watch this video. Like, no, they're not going to do that and just buy this, right? No. So these people, they benefit, they make billions of dollars off of selling you abortions, birth control, pornography. I want women to know that your womb is the gateway to life on Earth. Human life on planet Earth. That's how special you are. And when someone gives you a message that it's no big deal and it's just for fun, think about what they have to gain by convincing you that. Right? So men have a biological imperative. They are not as affected by bonding hormones or by the physicality of pregnancy and the responsibility of, this child came out of you, it's yours. So we as women, we really need to start honoring and respecting our bodies. We need to do that by not even messing with trifling men. Okay? This is just a message that I really wanted my mother to hear. And so here I am, I'm on YouTube, 30 odd years later, and I'm telling it to the world. Don't date, don't talk to, don't be friends with, or anything, any man who makes you feel uncertain, insecure, for any reason. Okay? And also, the second part of that is personal responsibility, right? So if we're feeling insecure or we're attracted to these men who are, not good people, or they're people who, they don't keep their word, right? You don't admire them, right? They're not working on themselves. They don't take responsibility. They're not successful. They're not constantly working on themselves. They're not supporting you in your life vision and your life goals. Goodbye. And just don't even talk. Don't even entertain it. Nothing. Be alone if you have to. Be alone. That's something that everyone needs to be able to do. You need to be able to hear the voice, your inner voice. That's how you start being able to hear God. Okay? You don't hear God by running around and bouncing from one thing to another and constantly being around people and noise and entertainment and every other thing. You have to learn to be quiet and to be still and to accept and to feel pain and feel loneliness and think, wow, I'm feeling this horrible thing. This means I'm alive. And then you can move into deeper introspection on it. And that would be my second point, which is mental health. So taking responsibility, having awareness. I went through many periods in my life where I knew something was wrong with, it was like being in a fog and just knowing that something is wrong. I don't know what's wrong, where it's coming from, but something about this is wrong and I want to change it. And it was like trying to explain something in a different language. Like I didn't know how to explain what was wrong, right? So I really had to spend many years in therapy, but also in reading books, reading self-help books, right? Personal development books, spirituality books, and keeping a journal. So writing down your thoughts and feelings, that's how you start learning how to listen to yourself, right? I have so many moments in my life where I did not listen to myself and I regretted it. And I'll talk about that in another video. But that's how you start learning to listen to yourself. So by being quiet, by keeping a journal, and by self-inquiry, right? Asking yourself, oh, I wonder why I did that. I wonder what I was thinking when I reacted that way, right? Or like I said about assessing your life, looking at your life and thinking, wow, why do I feel that I deserve this aspect of my life? Why did I choose this? Why am I tolerating this? Why am I supporting this? And the third tip I would talk about would be our physical health. Okay? Again, there are industries around the world that are making billions of dollars off of telling women that it's cool to be morbidly obese, to have your organs surrounded in fat. And ladies, believe me when I tell you, I've been there. I have had an eating disorder for probably my entire life. I've had binge eating disorder for a very long time, and I am recovered. It's something I'm always going to have to keep an eye on. But when you do the internal work, it's over. It's done. You can't use that as a coping method anymore because you're aware of it. And then you also start to become aware of the signals of your body. You start feeling good in your body. I hate being fat, you guys. I remember I used to look at, body positivity things. And I knew in my mind that it was BS. Okay, so, they'd say like this, like morbidly obese women, they're like, all bodies matter, or all sizes are beautiful, or some other thing. But like I would look at, celebrities that gained weight and I would think, oh, she still looks good. Like I can still kind of look like I was trying to rationalize things in my mind. But the reality was I did not feel good being fat. I had trouble, doing certain things or climbing stairs. I hated when my clothes would not fit. And so part of that was self-honesty. I knew that once I stopped eating, I was going to have to face the pain that I was stuffing and hiding behind those actions. And I really didn't want to do that. But guess what? I didn't want to die. Okay? I don't want to die. I didn't want to be fat. And I didn't want to be depressed, right? Because when we carry excess fat on our body, it starts to develop and excrete hormones, and that can make you more depressed. Your fat on your body, when it becomes excessive, which can be even an extra 20, 30, or 40 pounds or more, it starts developing its own like ecosystem to sustain itself. It sends messages to you. It messes up your body. It makes you depressed and anxious. But these people don't want to tell you that. They want to make you feel good and hype you up and sell you stuff. Okay? And they want to keep you addicted to junk food, birth control, sex. Look at how your body was made, how it works, how it feels best, and start to take a small step every day. Don't worry at all about superficial things. Okay? That was a really important thing for me about losing weight and staying healthy, is not being distracted by how I looked. Just thinking, I'm doing this for health and to feel better. And so if having a walk today and drinking a lot more water makes me feel better, then I don't care what it says on the scale or how my pants fit. And just going day by day by day. And eventually things just got better. And then you can keep that positive momentum going. Some of you wonder why I always just show myself walking at the end of my videos. So those of you who have read my beautiful book that has been so well received by you guys, thank you so much. To everyone who purchases, loves, and leaves me reviews on my Amazon for my book, Recollections, A Journey Through Therapy and Recovery, thank you so much. When I was 10 years old, doctors told me that I would either be dead in 6 months or in a wheelchair for the rest of my life. So when I just take a single step, that is an earth-shattering miracle. When I take a breath, that is an earth-shattering miracle. And that is for you too, for the things that you have lived through to make it to this point today. For all of this nonsense to try and take you out, absolutely not. We're battening down the hatches. We're doubling up on our self-care, our positive influences. We're shutting off the news. We are not looking at any catastrophic thing. We're out here in nature, living our lives, breathing the air, feeling the miracle of this life that God has given us. subscribing to my YouTube channel, and enjoying life. And that's it, guys. That's it. I feel you all. I'm taking a breath. I'm looking at the radiant sunset that's almost unbelievable in its beauty. It is my birthday, and I've got my Amazon wish list below for those of you who want to help me out. I'm in the desert and I'm running out of makeup that matches my skin tone. Like, you know, when you get to that point when you're like, okay, my foundation doesn't match anymore. I'm at that point. I've also got some stuff for the kitties. I know you guys love the kitties, and winter's coming up, so I want to make sure that, you know, they have some heated things. They live in the barn out in the farm there, but I have a video planned with them I think that you guys are going to really love. Anyway, so thank you so much to those of you who are on this journey with me. If you want more videos like this, please hit like, leave me a comment, subscribe, and share. And we're pouring out a coconut water in the desert for those of us who didn't make it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now. This is amazing. I just saw this huge dragonfly go by. It's like we're in the... Did you just scratch him while he's going down a cliff? Did you see that?